All right, now we're going to add a couple of stairs using this big face that sits below our front door. And from the end of the stairs, we're going to create a walkway. And I'm going to give you a technique that you can use to make a more interesting walkway rather than having it come straight out, but that's optional. You will have the knowledge to do that if you want. So I'm going to select by face, go to my modeling toolkit, select by face, and select that front rectangle. Now we're going to do an extrude, and usually the top step going into a house is a bit larger than, let's say, the top of one of the stairs, so I'm going to pull it out quite a bit. And then, again, anticipating going forward and extruding another face out of this, we need to create a smaller face from this front face here. So I'm going to use my multi-cut tool for that. So I'm going to select it, and I can either go from this top vert or this bottom vert. I'm going to go from the bottom. And again, if I left click, hold, and drag, I can get percentages. Now I want to match that percentage or have an idea of about how big I'm going to leave that rectangle. So I'm going to go to 70%. And then again, using the technique where we hold down Control and Shift after we click, I want that to be 90 degrees straight across. And then we can finish that row of edges at that bottom vert just like we did where we started. So I'm going to hit Enter. Now we're going to select by face, and we're going to extrude this bottom one. Now I want my two steps that we're going to create to be pretty much the same size. So we can be exact if we want by using local translate Z. I'm going to pull it out. I believe the local translate Z we want is about 0.7, so I'm going to click 0.7 there. And then once again, getting out of component mode and back into object mode, I'm going to cut another face into that using my multi-cut tool, going down to that vert. Going up to 70 will give us somewhat of a smaller step, only because this face we're dealing with is smaller. So I'm going to go a little bit less than that, maybe about 65. And again, we're eyeballing this, not a big deal. We can change that later. We can make it more exact if we need to later. And again, Control Shift to get my 90 degrees, and again, finish that at the very bottom. So now back into face mode, extrude. We already know how far we want to extrude this. It's 0.7 to keep those steps the same. And voila, we have a couple steps going up. Now from this bottom face, we want to create a much smaller face down here so we can extrude a sidewalk. And we're gonna play with this a little bit, have some fun with it. So again, I'm going to multi-cut tool down to the base here. I'm going to go up to approximately 20%. Control Shift to get my 90-degree angle. Again, finish that down. And then we can see that we have a face here. Boom, we want to extrude that. And I'm going to pull this out quite a ways. Let's say I want quite sort of a longer walkway to get to the house, maybe a little bit more than that. While we have this extrude mode up, I want to increase the divisions because we're going to do something again to break up these straight lines and make it a little more interesting of a walkway. So left click, I can only go up to 25 when we do it in this little pop-up poly extrude window. But if I go to my attribute editor and find that divisions button, we can make that whatever we want. I actually like more than that. Yes, we're sort of getting out of the realm of low poly modeling into some higher resolution mesh. But like I said, because I want to play with this a little bit, I'm going to make that about 80. And there we go. So now in my modeling toolkit, if I go to select by edge, you can see that because of my tool settings, I only select one edge. And if I were to move that, whoop, we get some weird stuff. This is a case where I actually want to use soft select. So I want to make this sidewalk sort of zigzag a little bit, but I want it to be on the smooth side of things. So I'm going to go into my settings by clicking on this hammer here. We're actually going to turn soft select on. And while we're in this window, you can see the default soft select really sort of grabs a lot of the geometry, and when I push it over, I go, whoa, we get a lot of distortion with the front side of the house, which is not what we want. I want that soft select only to affect a few of those edge loops next to what I've selected. So I'm going to bring that fall off radius down, down, down quite a bit. Let's go to 1.4, that's fine. And now I want to make sure it doesn't affect my front step. Okay, so I'm too close about that one. A little bit. I'm going to go one more over. Now, if I go to my top view, just to see how far I'm actually moving this, then I'm going to go one by one and select the next one over, zigzag that, push that one out a little bit, and then we're going to go here with this one, give it a little curvature so that when people look at it, they're not, that's a square, it's sort of a boring sidewalk. I'm going to keep doing this as a rule, and let's see what happens when we get up to about right there. I think that'll work. So now we have this sort of zigzag sidewalk. Keep in mind it doesn't go up and down. It's still flat, and we've zigzagged it. So I'm going to turn soft selection off now, close this window. Now if we want to make a sidewalk that goes left and right, let's say, again, we have this walkway that comes from the street or the sidewalk. We're going to make a sidewalk that goes parallel to the front of the house. So we have to extrude out another face. That's going to be the width of our sidewalk. So extrude, bring that straight out. And I'm just sort of eyeballing the width of the sidewalk. Let's make it a little bit bigger than the top step of the house. And now we can, I believe this will work, if I shift select both the left and right side and do an extrusion. Now we can go as far out as we want our property to go. I'm going to go a bit wider than the house. Let's do even maybe a little bit more. And we're going to use our imagination and say, our scene cuts off right there, so that should be good. So pretty quickly we have a nice little interesting walkway, some stairs, and a front sidewalk to add to our house.